Hello, classmates, here in Purposive Communication. For our finals, we're going to start with the topics that we weren't able to cover for the midterms because of the extensions for the deadlines, because of the internet connection issues that we've been having. So we're going to start our final term with critical listening. So first off, congratulations for finishing first grading in midterms. Of course, your grades will be posted later on, but it's exciting to know that we will be finishing in around 5 weeks. So we're going to have around 5 weeks left for the final term, and we're going to cover all of the last parts, the things that we weren't able to cover for the for the final part of purposive communication. Now, of course, because it's communication and because we are going over the process, one of the key things that we've talked about, of course, is the elements of communication. And if you remember, we have been focusing more into the viewing, into the reading, into the way that we speak. And as we move forward and leave these ideas, we are now going to be shifting from these expressive skills into another receptive skill which you need when you will be entering the profession or the field that you want or that you are studying for in the near future. Okay, so we are now moving on to what we call critical listening. So when we say critical listening, it is all about this idea. You can find it in your modules where it's not there's a difference between hearing and listening, where when we are hearing something, it's just something where you use your facilities, or you use the parts of your body for this listening activity, like you use your ears. And when someone says something, or when you hear a song, for example, or when you watch a movie, it's the idea of listening, of hearing, is that it just passes through your listening faculties, but you don't really have to comprehend it, or you don't really have to analyze, or for you to go over these ideas. And in the same vein, when you're talking about listening, it's definitely what hearing is in the opposite. So when you talk about listening, when people say something to you, when you listen to a song, when you listen to an advertisement, when you listen to your teacher, for example, when you hear a lecture, or when you are in the audience, you try to create ideas about what you hear. And the idea here is that in the act of listening, you also have to not just comprehend, but for you to analyze, and for you to further understand what is being said, so that you will be able to make a good or reliable, or a suitable response to the person or to the media that you are listening to. So when you are listening, for example, to an advertisement, and when you do the act of critical listening, you're able to talk about what is wrong or what is good about this advertisement, what are the fine lines, right? Like, you don't just listen to it because it's enticing and because there's a jingle, but you also try to analyze and understand what can be wrong about the message that's being said, what is the message really all about, and what are the things that I need to be worried about it. And when you will be working in the future, of course, purposive communication says, when you will be in different professions later on, or workplaces. Some of you are tourism students, you will be having your you will some of you will become flight attendants, some of you will be having your tour agency or tourism agencies. Some of you will be working for the government, some of you will be working with private institutions. Some of you are, for example, in the com department or com field. You're going to be working with various people. You will be in media, you will become reporters, and it's very important that you always open your ears into something that is deeper. It's not just about taking note and understanding what is being said, but also for you to analyze and for you to construct ideas and commentaries about these things. And so, Critical listening requires you to not only exercise skills to comprehend information, but take note of the word to make assessments and decisions about what you hear. So you have a certain stand, or you have a response to the things that you are hearing or listening. When you listen critically, you evaluate and analyze the credibility, the accuracy, and the validity of messages. So this type of listening usually involves persuasive information. Okay, you must recognize fallacies and sort out various facts from opinions. You're able to know what is research based or what is factual from something that is probably just a personal remark or a personal opinion. Listening also requires critical thinking. So you need to balance the argument you hear with your own expectations, beliefs, and viewpoints. Going back to what I have been discussing with you before, context plays a very important role in whatever we do. So it can also mean that when you listen to something, you have to be wary about going back to sensitive communication. Is the person saying something that is already racist or sexist? So you have to be wary about those things. According to Spears in 2010, critical listeners are the following. There are 7 ideas that are presented in your modules. Just go over that. The first one is being engaged. You deliberately seek understanding as you listen. So when you listen to something, your role in there, or you know that your purpose is for you to understand what is being said. It's the same when you're in class, right? Like you are here right now. You are here in this class, you're enrolled in this class because you want to engage yourself in a communication or a conversation, so that you are able to understand and you're able to use these ideas later on in your own chosen profession. Fully attentive means you resist forming a response before the speaker finishes speaking. And I think this is very important because not everyone can do this. When you are fully attentive, you try to let the person finish whatever he or she is saying. You don't want to cut them. You don't want to, even if you are very excited, even if you are very anxious to cut the person so that you can share what you want to say, it's very important that you let the person finish. You have to be fully attentive. Systematically analytical. You apply the elements of reasoning to information, claims, and ideas. You are enrolled right now in ethics. I know that when you were in senior high school, you were enrolled in logic. It's for philosophy. It's very important that you apply the elements of reasoning to the things that you are listening. Okay, so if someone is saying, for example, like, right, for example, let's just use the election that happened in the United States. Donald Trump lost the election, and he was online, and he was giving a press statement saying that the election was rigged. And at that point, the if you listen to it, the reporters who were there, no, they cut him. So they said in the program, they muted him, or they put his volume low, and they said, sorry, audiences or people who are watching us right now, we have to cut this because the president is saying things that are not factual, or that are unethically presented, because Donald Trump has no proof or has no evidence that the election was rigged. It was just probably angry. So they cut him off. Focus on clarity. You can ask follow-up questions until you achieve understanding. And I think you know this, especially when you are very excited, or when you are, when you are feeling joyful, or you relate to the idea or to the conversation, when you are gossiping with your friend, you focus on clarity, so you have a lot of backup questions to something. Responsive is you paraphrase the speaker's statements to demonstrate comprehension. I have more examples of this later on. And being empathetic, which means you try to understand the speaker's needs, assumptions, values, and opinions. Finally, collaborative, you seek ways to find value in the combination of ideas and input, meaning collaborative. What are we talking about, and what are the things that I can add to the conversation? So it's very important that you also assert your presence. You want people, or you want the person you are talking to feel who you are and what you are trying to say. Okay, there are some things that are listed in your modules, which is a contrast between a competent listener and an ineffective listener. I want you to go over that, but I can highlight in here some very important parts. For example, is the use of eye contact appropriately, which is something that we can never undermine. This is very important. Public speaking. face-to-face discussions, one-on-one. You need also to be what's this you need to ask questions in a non-threatening tone. Sometimes this happens. I am a very I can relate to this, because sometimes when I speak to other people, they feel like I'm angry, or they feel like I'm probing them. But the truth is, I was genuinely interested, and I am just asking some questions. But sometimes when your tone is, we finish nonverbal, sometimes when your tone just comes off too strong, people will feel insecure, or people will fear you when you are asking some questions. Also, demonstrate a caring attitude, and show that you're willing to listen. Do not criticize or do not be judgmental, and you need to be open-minded. While when you talk about being ineffective as a listener, you interrupt the speaker, you demonstrate that you are impatient, you do not make eye contact, you are distracted or you're fidgety, you are not interested in the speaker. You give the speaker little or no verbal or no non-verbal feedback. So you just stare at the person who is talking. You change the subject, you are judgmental, you are close-minded, you talk too much, you are not allowing the person to have a conversation with you. It's no longer a conversation, it's becoming one way. You give unwarranted advice. Don't be careful when you do this. So when people are sharing with you their experiences, it doesn't give you this opportunity or this permission that you can ask, or that you can give them advices. Sometimes they just want a person to listen. Sometimes when people share to us, it's not because they want you to share something. They basically just want someone to hear. So pag-isipan nyo rin yun. I think this is a very important skill that you can improve on as you age. Some people, they just want to talk. So you listen to them. No need for you to be very responsive. Don't be too self-preoccupied, meaning nakafocus lang sa sarili mo, or you keep thinking about what people are saying. And ineffective listeners are too busy to listen. So it's always important to give people time to explain and to share what they really feel. And your job is to just sit there and listen. Walvin and Coakley identified 5 types of listening. So please take note. The first one is discriminative listening. The second one is comprehensive. The third is critical or evaluative. The fourth is therapeutic. And the fifth one is appreciative. When you talk about discriminative listening, you allow individuals to separate fact from opinion. So this is what I was saying a while ago. You need to know what is important, or what is research based, what is factual, from something that is just a personal sharing or a personal opinion. For example, right now there are a lot of things that are going on in our government. There are some feuds that are brewing, most especially the one with our president and the vice president. When they are talking, you need to know how to discriminate which part of the president, the thing that the president is saying, for example, in the press conference, which part of this is opinion and which part of this is factual. And when you think that it is factual, you have to make sure that you have evidence, or there are things online that will tell you so. For example, one of the things that critics are pointing out right now is that President Duterte is, saying that Vice President Leni Robredo was the one who was asking where is the president, using the hashtag nasaan ang presidente. But in fact, there are no tweets, or there are no public remarks by the vice president looking for the president. So it's fake news. Okay, so probably the president was angered. The vice president released a statement about it, saying the aides of the personal aides of the president have been sharing with him some malicious and some fake news that made him very angry, that gave him very that allowed him to make negative responses or remarks towards the vice president last November 17th. Okay, comprehensive listening is necessary for individuals to understand the message, because you negotiate, or you differentiate, you go between the vocal sounds in order to comprehend the emotional content of the message. And this is a skill that is not open to everybody. So there are some people who can feel, and there are researchers that say that women or females are the ones who have these skills more than men do, because you're able to understand the tone. So for example, when you ask them, "Are you okay?" and the person says something like, "Hmm, okay lang naman." So you also distinguish that even if the person said he or she is okay, but the way that he or she said it is soft, or different from his usual tone, then you know that something is different. So comprehensive listening means you also include the vocal sounds. Critical or evaluative means you need to evaluate the message before accepting or rejecting it. Very important in negotiation, very important when you are in a position where when you are trying to see or probe how truthful or how important the idea or the message the person is sharing. Therapeutic allows the individual to listen without judging. So I think sinasabi ko kanina, this is very good. And appreciative listening allows individuals to listen for entertainment or enjoyment, such as when we listen to poetry or music. So these are the different types of listening according to Walvin and Coakley. What are we usually using? All of these ones in different parts of the day, right? So I will be asking you to answer some questions later on. So when you're talking about discriminative listening, you are, when you are watching a TV show, for example, or when you're watching the speech of the president. Comprehensive listening is when you are listening to your mom share something to your siblings, or when you are watching the news as well. Critical or evaluative listening is the same when you watch the news, or when you are listening to gossip, or when people are ranting, or when you are listening to commentaries by professionals, or by critics, or by experts. Therapeutic listening allows you to listen without judging. So sometimes we do this with our friends, we do this with people who are close to us. And finally, appreciative listening is when you listen to music or poetry. Okay, so active or reflective listening, it's already in your it's actually discussed, or it's already part of your module. Just go over that. And there is a relational or dialogic listening. So what is this? Let's look for the keywords for this in your modules when you're talking about reflective or active listening. The word in here that I like is that engaged, and you are reflecting by restating or paraphrasing what is being said. And we'll talk more about this in a little while. When you're talking about reflective listening, you want to be engaged. You want to paraphrase what the person is saying, just to show that you are really in the loop, that you are really in the conversation. Okay, relational or dialogic. The key terms is, of course, in here, to learn about and to further enhance mutual understanding and communication. So when you're talking about relational or dialogic, you are involving the whole listening environment. So you are actually building in here personal relationship. That's why the word is relational, from the root word which is used in the word relationship, right? So relational listening and relational communication are also ideas which are related to this one. You are speaking and listening simultaneously in a face-to-face human interaction, according to Eisenberg and Goodall. All right. So before you go to your activity, I'm going to just share to you some very important ideas, which I think will be very helpful in the near future. So active listening skills, as you can see in here. So you build trust and establish rapport. You ask specific questions, demonstrate concern, and use brief verbal affirmations like, I see. Ganun ba? Talaga? Right? In Filipino. So, active listening techniques can help you truly understand what people are saying in conversations and meetings. These are very important skills for you to show, because your generation, the Gen Zs, you are born in a generation where social media is everything. We prefer text messaging. We prefer what's this? Direct messaging or private messaging over face-to-face communication. But when we do, we want to make our interactions invested, or we want to make sure that given the very limited time that we are with other people, we are able to show and we are able to demonstrate just how much we care for them, and just how active we are in listening to what they are supposed to say. So you need to build trust and establish rapport. Listen to them, ask specific questions. I'll explain this more later. Demonstrate concern and use verbal affirmation. So here are some of them. Um, what is this? One of the key things that I will be sharing in here will be the following. So, examples of active listening responses. It's often easier to learn by reading examples. So, here are some examples that I will be that you can use. But before we get there, here are some more tips. Okay, so aside from the ones that are in the previous slide or in the cartoon that I showed you, you also want to use nonverbal cues which show understanding. So it's not very bad for you to nod your head every once in a while when you are listening. Create eye contact. Sometimes you even squint your eye a little bit, or you purse your lips, or you move your lips just to show that you are interested or that you are part of the conversation. You can even lean forward. And these are nonverbal cues which are very important. You actually prod, or you inspire, or you motivate the person to share more or to speak more because you are interested with what is being said. Brief verbal affirmations like I see, or I know, or sure, or thank you, or I understand, or just saying actually or certain responses like that are verbal affirmations which will make the person who's speaking know that you are listening and you are understanding what is being said. Ask specific questions, seek clarification. Please use open-ended questions. Not question when you ask a person, do not ask them questions that are just answerable by a yes or no. Although of course this can happen, but it's very essential also to ask open-ended questions. Like, what are these questions? Of course, your five W's and one H. Like, okay, so what happened? Where did it happen? Who was involved? Why did this happen? What were you doing there? Why were you there? Etc. Waiting to disclose your opinion and disclosing similar experiences to show understanding. Okay, so here are some quotations which I think are very helpful. When you want to build trust and establish rapport, you can say something like, "Tell me what I can do to help." All right. Or, "I was really impressed to read on your website how you donate 5% of each sale to charity." So you want to make them believe you, and you want them to feel that to know that you're invested with them. So you build trust by giving an idea that you are open and that you know something about them. Okay. uh Demonstrating concern, so you can say something like, "I'm eager to help. I know that you're going through some tough challenges. uh is there What else are you feeling right now? How can I help you?" Sometimes, even if you are not really, well, it's the Filipino culture to say kamusta. And sometimes we are afraid to do that because we feel like when you ask that, people might ask you some favors which you are not going to, which you are not able to respond to properly later on. So you don't want it to happen. But when you demonstrate concern, sometimes it's just about asking them and that's enough. So you can ask them, or you can say, "I know how hard the corporate restructuring can be. How is staff morale at this point? During this pandemic," you can ask other people like, "How are you doing with your modules? What are the things that you want? Are there things that you are having a hard time with? Are there things you want to talk to? Do you have an experience recently that you want to that bothers you?" Sometimes just asking these questions, but of course you don't have to be very direct like that. There are different ways for you to get there. Paraphrasing. Now, this is very important. Paraphrasing is when I say something and you are the listener, you try to respond to me or you try to talk to me by using what I've said and paraphrasing that into your own words. Just so you want to show, or you want it to be a marker that, hey, I understood what you said, so I'm going to give it back to you. So you're saying that the uncertainty about who will be your new supervisor is creating stress for you. So you can use the openings like, "So you are saying," or "So you think," "So you believe." It's nice to do this so that it will allow a person, you just try this when you're speaking with others, it will make person respond to you more. So for example, they are sharing about a breakup, right? Or maybe they feel a little bad about their subjects or their teachers or instructors or their university or their school or the administration or the government or whatever. So so ang ibig mong sabihin, so ang nararamdaman mo ba ay ganito? So you want them to know that you understand what you are saying by paraphrasing it in your own words. And when you do that, for example, someone is angry about may probably education in general. and they say that academic freeze is important, and they're angry because not every school is offering, because we don't have that. So you can ask like, so ang sinasabi mo ba ay ganito? So it allows a person to open up to you more. Try to observe that. Once you paraphrase, people will share more. A brief verbal affirmation. I understand that you'd like more frequent feedback about your performance, or thank you, I appreciate your time in speaking to me. So yun yung sinasabi ko kanina, verbal affirmation lang. Asking open-ended questions. I can see that John's criticism was very upsetting to you. Which aspect of his critique was most disturbing? Or it's clear that the current situation is intolerable for you. What changes would you like to see? So you want them to open, or to share, or to give answers which can be longer than a yes or a no or a one-liner answer. You want them to open up their feelings, and you want them to feel comfortable when they do that. Ask specific questions. How long, when you are applying for a job, for example, do not be very general, like how are the processes here, or what are the things that employees have to go through. You have to be very specific, like what is your average rate of staff turnover, ilang hours, parang ganon, or ilang staff sila. How long do you expect your hiring process to last, right? Or how much is the salary per month, or what are the things that what are the can you walk me through the routine of a regular employee in here? What time do we start work, etc. What are the benefits, etc. Mga ganon. Waiting to disclose your opinion. So you wait for the right time for you to express this. It just means that you want them to give more ideas. So you can say, tell me more. Tell me more about your proposal to reorganize the department. Or can you please provide some history for me regarding your relationship with your former business partner? So when someone is angry and they are ranting, they say, ayoko yung ganito, ayoko si ganito. So you can ask them, ano ba niramdaman mo? Ano bang nangyari? Can you walk me through it? And the more that you allow people to share, the more that you're able to understand, and the better your advices will be. Okay? So actually, I also do not trust people sometimes when I haven't shared my whole story and they started giving their advices. Sometimes it's very difficult, right? I think you agree with me. It's very difficult for you to embrace, or for you to accept an advice given by a person if they haven't heard the whole story. You just feel like they were being judgmental or presumptuous. So, allow a person to share everything, or to share the whole bulk of the narrative or the story before you respond. Disclosing similar situations. I think mahilig tayo sa ganyan, mga Pinoy. Someone will share, and then you also share your experience, right? Especially in the classroom. So you can say, you can see the word here also. I was also conflicted about returning to work after the birth of my son. So siguro yung nag-share nito, sharing that I don't want to go to work after I have kids. I have this feeling of anxiety, or I don't want to be separated from my kids this early. So the person responding was saying, I was also conflicted about returning to work after the birth of my son. I had the responsibility of terminating some of my personnel due to downsizing over the last 2 years. Even if it's necessary, it never gets easier. So you share each other's experiences. So when your friend talks to you about his or her breakup, for example, you also do the same. Like, yeah, me too. When I was younger, or last year when I broke up with this and that. Oh, yeah, yun. Pero make sure naman that when you're sharing these things, you have to understand that sometimes experiences can only work for you, but doesn't work with everybody. So the good thing about asking advices sometimes is have to get more options. You don't just rely on one person to give you the advice, because if the advice is lame or poor or not applicable to you, you're not able to get the best advice for you to do what you want to do or what you need to do as a next step. Okay, so all of those things are important ideas or concepts which are related to listening. The rest of it is already in your modules, and the question or the task that you have to work on is already will be posted in your Google Classroom task. All right, so have a great day. I'll see you soon, and you take care of yourselves.